The possessed Nri Kingdom mask. Once upon a time, in a small village near the heart of southeastern Nigeria, there was a mysterious artifact from the ancient Nri Kingdom. It was a special mask, all beautifully carved and filled with stories from long ago. The mask had been lost for many years, but one day it suddenly appeared in a local museum in Nri Kingdom. Now, this wasn't just any mask. It was said to have strong old-time magic and spiritual powers. It changes its form, and there was a sinister smile on its face. People in the kingdom started to feel something strange when they got near it. Whispers floated in the air, and weird things began to happen. In a nearby town, the history expert Ogo, who knew a lot about the past, started looking into the mask story. He found out that the mask was part of ancient rituals from the Nri Kingdom. Legend had it that it was used to talk to spirits and control things that were beyond our normal world. As Oga arrived in Nri Kingdom and delved further into the mysterious history of the Nri mask, a chilling aura seemed to wrap itself around the kingdom. The mask, with its ancient silent stories, became a focal point for strange things happening. The first strange incident occurred when the museum caretaker, Amaka, accidentally brushed her fingers against the cool surface of the mask. Suddenly, she began to speak in a language no one recognized, her voice echoing with an otherworldly tone. It was as if the mask had whispered something into her soul, leaving her in a trance, reciting words that seemed to carry the weight of centuries. Next, a group of curious teenagers sneaked into the museum one moonlight night. One of them, daring enough to touch the mask, felt an icy shiver crawl up his spine. From that moment, he began to see shadowy figures out of the corners of his eyes, ghostly shapes that danced and twisted in the darkness, disappearing whenever he tried to focus on them. A local artist, Chigozie, fascinated by the mask's intricate patterns, couldn't resist the temptation to sketch its details. As he laid his hand on the mask to feel its textures, his sketches took on a life of their own. The images seemed to move on the paper, telling a silent story of ancient rituals and forgotten spirits. Even the town's wise elder, Papa Ngozi, who had lived through many seasons, felt a strange pull towards the mask. When he touched it gently with his weathered hands, his dreams became vivid scenes of a distant past, with whispers of forgotten wisdom and warnings of impending doom. The kingdom's people soon shared hushed tales of their encounters with the mask. Some claimed they heard eerie laughter echoing through the night, while others insisted they saw flickering candlelight in abandoned places. The atmosphere in the kingdom became tense and uneasy, as if the ancient magic within the Nri mask had unleashed a series of unsettling events that no one could ignore. As Ogo continued his research, he couldn't help but notice the growing unease. Each person who touched the mask seemed to unlock a different aspect of its power, setting off a chain reaction of supernatural occurrences that cast a shadow over the once peaceful kingdom. The Nri mask, it seemed, held secrets that were not meant to be disturbed, and its influence was spreading, leaving the people of the kingdom caught in the grip of an ancient mysterious spell. Tunde, a journalist with a knack for questioning everything, arrived in the kingdom with a curious mind. People were talking about the strange happenings surrounding the Nri mask, but Tunde, being a skeptic, thought it was just old tales meant to scare. As he entered the museum where the mask was displayed, Tunde examined it with an air of skepticism. Just a piece of wood and metal, he mumbled to himself. Little did he know the ancient energy within the mask could sense his doubts. The first strange encounter occurred when Tunde decided to take a photo of the mask. As he aimed his camera, the mask seemed to glare back at him with an unsettling intensity. When Tunde reviewed the photo, he was shocked to see a faint reflection of his own face twisted into an eerie, mocking grin, even though he hadn't smiled. Later that evening, Tunde decided to meet Ogo, the historian, at a local bar to hear Ogo's side of the story. At the local bar, a group of youngsters, having heard of his skepticism, challenged him to touch the mask, daring him to prove that it was just an ordinary artifact. Ogo warned Tunde to ignore the youngsters, but Tunde said he would go and touch the mask. Tunde went back to the museum with Ogo, the youngsters, and swallowing his doubts, he reluctantly touched the cold surface. Suddenly, the room grew silent, and everyone stared at him as if he had crossed into a realm beyond their understanding. It felt like an invisible hand had reached into his mind, stirring up shadows of ancient whispers that left him bewildered. Haunted by the strange encounter, Tunde decided to spend the night in the museum to capture any unusual activities on camera. As the clock struck midnight, he heard footsteps echoing in the empty halls. Following the sound, he found himself in front of the Inru mask, which now seemed to emanate a dim, ghostly glow. Tunde raised his camera, ready to document the inexplicable. In the dim light, he saw the shadows of long-forgotten rituals playing out on the walls. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy. As the mask's eyes glowed faintly, it was as if the spirits from the past were using Tunde's lens to tell a story of ancient secrets. Suddenly, the temperature in the room dropped, and Tunde's breath became visible in the cold air. The mask, once stationary, began to levitate before him. Tunde, frozen in disbelief, witnessed the mask come to life. It grinned at him as if mocking him, telling tales of forgotten ceremonies and ancient spirits. Tunde tried to flee, but an invisible force held him in place. Whispers echoed in his ears, a symphony of voices from a time long ago. The mask's eyes seemed to pierce through him, as it glowed like there was an inner light illuminating it, revealing visions of his deepest fears and regrets. It was as if the malevolent power of the Inru mask had entangled itself with Tunde's very soul, leaving him a terrified witness to the supernatural forces at play. As the night unfolded, Tunde realized that his skepticism had led him into a web of horror, and the Inru mask held secrets that transcended his understanding of the natural world. As day broke, Tunde collapsed on the floor, exhausted, yet determined to press on with his investigation. Determined to unravel the enigma of the Inru mask, Tunde convinced Ogo to tell him all he knew about the mask. Ogo gave him all the information he had, but told Tunde that he, Ogo, was leaving the kingdom for an academic pursuit the next day, and he cautioned Tunde to be careful when trying to dig into spiritual mysteries. Tunde delved deeper into the kingdom's history, searching for the threads that tied the artifact to the unsettling events unfolding. As Tunde pored over ancient documents and dusty manuscripts, he uncovered a chilling connection between the mask and the long-forgotten rituals. The story spoke of a time when the Inru kingdom held ceremonies to communicate with spirits beyond the veil of the living. The mask, a conduit to the supernatural, was used to bridge the walls between the seen and the unseen. The journalist's heart raced as he stumbled upon a long-buried secret. Generations ago, a powerful and malevolent spirit had been sealed within the mask through a forbidden ritual. The spirit, angered by its imprisonment, sought to regain its freedom by latching onto the souls of those who dared to touch the cursed artifacts. Tunde realized that the strange occurrences in the kingdom were not merely random events, but a manifestation of the angry spirit's desire for release. The more people touched the mask, the stronger the spirit's influence became, threatening the sanity of the entire community. Driven by a sense of urgency, Tunde sought guidance from Papa Ngozi, the wise elder. He shared ancient wisdom passed down through generations, revealing that breaking the curse required understanding the spirit's grievances and finding a way to appease it. Tunde embarked on a perilous journey, consulting with local priests called Dibias and elders to decipher the ancient language of the spirits. During a harrowing night, Tunde ventured into the spirit realm through a sacred ritual, guided by the knowledge he had gathered. There, he confronted the vengeful spirit bound to the mask. The spirit, filled with centuries of bitterness, spoke of betrayal and anguish that had led to its imprisonment. With courage and empathy, Tunde negotiated with the spirit, promising to honor its story and seek redemption for the wrongs committed against it. Slowly, the spirit's wrath began to subside, and Tunde witnessed the ancient curse lifting. The mask's power dimmed, and the malevolent energy that had plagued the kingdom started to vanish like morning mist. In the aftermath, Tunde shared the lesson learned with the kingdom people. The story of the Inru mask taught them the consequences of meddling with ancient powers and the importance of respecting the spirits of the past. The town united to preserve its cultural heritage and protect the artifacts that held both beauty and danger. The moral lesson echoed through the generations. In the pursuit of knowledge and curiosity, one must tread carefully, respecting the ancient forces that dwell in the heart of our shared history. Join us in our next video, where we will continue to explore dark themes with moral lessons to spook you. This is Scream Time TV.